Okay, hi Bartonella family. Welcome to part two of my story of being diagnosed from sort of the beginning to the end, just the herks, the first time I herks to now. So I left you guys off that my last doctor told me that he wouldn't fill out Social Security papers because he thought that I had more of a mental problem. We've all heard that. It's all in our head. Your tests come back fine. Well, now I was due to see the new doctor. It was this Tuesday. It was this following Tuesday in November 2015. And I got really super sick with this bug that was going around last year or a couple years ago, whatever. And I said, I've got to go back to this doctor one last time and have him write me a script for some sort of antibiotics or something. Because I was real ill with fevers and stuff and not feeling well. So I went there and he filled out a prescription for a Z-Pack. And he was all happy and thought everything was great. I was furious with him because he did not fill out my stuff. He wanted me to get blood work to check on my white cell count because it was like a little too high. So I went to go down to the lab, which is right there at the doctor's office, and I told the nurse, I said, oh, he forgot to write down my vitamin D levels. Now, this is a guy, when I first started seeing him 3 years prior, said that he did a complete panel on my vitamins and the whole 9 yards. He never once checked me for vitamin D, ever. Once again, Sue had to diagnose herself. So they checked my vitamin D levels and said, oh my goodness, they called me right up. We have a script called Right In for you for vitamin D. I think I was at 15 at the time. Most recently, I think I was down to 9. So, yeah. And, of course, I had my Z-Pack, and I made sure that I got a prescription refill for my inhaler. And I was like, when I walked out those doors, I felt pompous because I knew I was going to finally go see a doctor who was going to test me. I didn't tell that doctor's office, though. But, so that following Tuesday, I had been taking a Z-Pack, and this was on a Friday. And it was the last day of my Z-Pack that I had to take. And story has it that if you're going to be tested for like co-infections and things like that, if you take antibiotics, sometimes it brings it out more and it shows up in the blood. I don't know how true that is. I am not a doctor, nor am I any chemist or anything like that, or have I ever worked in a lab. So that was the last day of my Z-Pack, and I went in to see the doctor. She read all of my symptoms because I had to make a full-blown report of what was wrong with me because she was so booked. Like I said, it took me a year and a half to get in there. She read that, and she goes, oh my goodness, she goes, you sound like you have Lyme disease, and I broke down. I said, well, I often wonder if I did because I had the rings, on my forearm and on my rib cage, and I had a strange rash on my back that looked like tinea, but it wasn't. Yeah. So, she checked me out for a good hour and talked with me and was writing tons of stuff down. And she says, all right, that's it. She goes, we're going to be drawing some blood from you, and we are checking for all co-infections, Lyme disease, the whole 9 yards. But we're going to send it to Mayo Clinic. And I thought, great, I'm not going to get good results because it isn't something like IGeneX or anything like that. I said, well, is it going to be able to show up, though, with these labs? I said, because I know IGeneX is probably one of the best. And she goes, well, your insurance at least covers the Mayo Clinic. So we'll go that route first. If it comes back negative, Then we'll talk about hygienics because she actually was a doctor. They had the kits from hygienics. And, you paid for it right there on the spot. They put the check right in the envelope along with your blood and they would send it out. So she had asked my history. I told her I'd had numerous MRIs. I had seen a neurologist 3 times, 2 different neurologists, and I was always told the same. Either I was told I didn't need to come back. It looked like I had some problems, but I didn't need to come back. Or the other doctor told me that I needed to come back, but only when I was having a flare-up, which I can't even get out of bed at that point. You have to take me out in a stretcher. I told her how I had seen, like my other doctor wanted me to see pain management and this and that. And I told her, I said, you know what, pain's the least of my worries. It's just not anything that I'm worried about. It's the neurological issues. It's the mental things. It's the lack of brain, hand, and leg coordination. It's the running into walls. It's the slurring of speech. It's a whole bunch of everything else that bothers me more. It's my mentals more than it is the pain. And she is also like an herbalist doctor. So she was testing she treats you first with your diet. She knows about Lyme because of her daughter having it, and she knows about co-infections, and she will treat it to an extent, but you're pretty much on your own. So 10 days later, I was watching as all my labs were coming back. She tested for everything, and I saw the report in the computers of everything that was coming back, and it looked like everything was falling into the normal range. And then I finally got the call on the 10th day. I'll never forget it. It's kind of almost emotional because it just shocked me, that finally after all those years, back then it was like 29 and a half years or 28 years. 28 and a half years I had gone feeling abnormal. And they told me that I did have a positive ANA something and something and a P41, one Lyme band or something. My Lyme came back negative. My Babesia came back negative. My ehrlichiosis came back negative. I was not gluten intolerant, though. I mean, I can deal with gluten. My body doesn't have a reaction to it, surprisingly. I did test positive, semi-positive for lupus. My thyroid levels came back, of course, high because I've got hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's disease. And my Bartonella, he goes, Sue, he goes, you have whip-like tailed spirochetes or whatever you want to call them, cells. So he goes, you tested positive in the past and in the moment, the present, for Bartonella Hensley. And he goes, you also tested positive for Bartonella Quintana. And I was like, okay. Now see, prior to the blood work back, I don't know, a year before, as I was going through the symptoms and stuff, I wrote down what I thought I had, and I had Lyme at the top of the test, and my doctor believes that I have Lyme still, even though it doesn't show up because I've had it so long. She believes I have Lyme. I had Lyme at the top of the list, and Bartonella was the second on the list. And then I was kind of iffy for Babesia. It was still questionable, but I just knew that I had Lyme and Bartonella. And even though my Lyme test never proved, anything, I know. I've always diagnosed myself with what was wrong. And I don't mean to sound pompous, but I know my body, and I know when I have something wrong. So, She had put me on, I don't even remember, some sort of antibiotic, and it was pure hell. I was herxing within a half an hour. All of a sudden, I started running around the house like I was on like cocaine or something. Like I don't know, like I was on some sort of upper drug, and I was running mad around the house. And then all of a sudden, I was flat in bed. I was just like this, all curled up and shaking. And my boyfriend was holding on to me because he also shows signs of having Bartonella. And I know he has it. And I know he has Lyme. And I can pinpoint and point out people by talking with them or looking at them if they have it. I just know from all the characteristics when somebody has it. So, yeah. Later on, during tax time, January or was it February, I went back with the money and got a Lyme test done to be sent like to hygienics. And I wasn't on antibiotics before I had it done, and I think that's a contributing factor. The test was sent out and it came back negative. But at the bottom of the paper, like I mentioned in prior videos, it did say that not to go by the test results, but rather to go by my symptoms. Which, let's face it, guys, they all have the same symptoms pretty much, you know? I mean, we all do. I think if you have one, you should be treated for all of them. Just a personal opinion. So that is how I ended up being diagnosed for Bartonella. I never had hygienics test me for co-infections, so it is possible that I do have other co-infections, maybe. But I think that the Mayo Clinic did a really good job as far as determining the Bartonella, because I definitely have it. So, at any rate, I would like to know everybody else's stories if you've been diagnosed or if you believe that you have it. Like I said, I have had something. Maybe not necessarily Bartonella that whole time, but I have had stuff for years and years and years. And a couple of times I was cleaning, ouch, I was sitting wrong there for a minute. I was in flea infested places on a couple houses that I cleaned out 3 times. I've been bit by numerous mosquitoes. I've been bit by ticks. Luckily, I didn't come into bed bugs or anything like that. But, so yeah. Who knows? So yeah, who knows where I'm going from here? And I think back to all those doctors, and we're always told the same thing, guys. I mean, we're told we're depressed. We're told we don't have anything. We're told we look up too much on the internet. Not for nothing, if we didn't look up on the internet and we didn't find each other like through these videos or Facebook or websites or stuff, who the hell would diagnose us? If we don't put it into their heads, it's, unfortunately, it seems to be going nowhere. And a lot of the disease specialists, I mean, it's a joke, you know, when they even remotely think that we have any kind of co-infection like Bartonella, Lyme, any of it. They're like, nah, get a second opinion, or, here's a couple weeks of antibiotics. That's not going to take care of it, guys. We know that. And, you know, what was I saying? I'm having brain cramps here. Poop. Darn it, I got to pause this. Darn old Bartonella and short-term memory. So, yeah. What I was trying to say is I had seen neurologists, I have seen endocrinologists, or endocrinologists, however you want to pronounce it. I have seen pain management people, rheumatoid arthritis people. 2 MDs, which I wanted to leave earlier on, but I got used to being with them, that denied me and said that it wasn't that. Sinus doctors, ear audiologist specialists. I've had x-rays on my chest, x-rays on my brain, MRIs, numerous MRIs on my brain, tried heart tests, EKGs, so many tubes of blood taken. You know, we all go through it. And I was going through that since 2008, on and off. I started seeing doctors back in 2000. And like I said before in the prior video, I told the doctor back in 2000, test me for Lyme and thyroid. And he told me, oh, we'll test your thyroid levels. They're within reason. Don't worry about Lyme. It's not that prevalent. You got to be a hunter to get that. If they only listened. I think they know, but they don't want to be the one to treat it due to the CDC and afraid of having their licenses pulled, the whole 9 yards. So that is the story of what I went through. For you guys that have not been yet diagnosed, hang in there. Hang in there. You know, you need to find a doctor, even if it's a doctor that kind of likes to go the herbal route, if you ask, but also treats medically so they don't get into trouble. Try to see one of them. Mine, I'm lucky, accepts my insurance. Try, and if you have to, especially during tax time, you know, if you have to travel distance to go get a Lyme test or to see a doctor that's Lyme literate, definitely do so. It's well worth the trip. It's well worth the money to at least get diagnosed. Once you get diagnosed, it's from there that you can go out and look to get more answers and treatments and stuff. So thank you guys so much for listening to my story. Please feel free to go down below. Let us all know how you got tested, what you're going through if you haven't been tested for it, the whole 9 yards. You know, feel free to comment, ask any questions. We're all here to learn from each other. I thank you guys again. Please feel free to give a thumbs up, preferably not a thumbs down. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching, and I've got a lot more videos coming your way. Thanks again.